I'm so glad that philosophically and execution-wise, Ryan Poles learned from the past, understood his place and where he was at and what mattered, and he went out and acted accordingly on night one of the 2024 NFL Draft. Caleb Williams at 1, you could say, well, that wasn't a hard decision. Fair enough, right? But at pick 9, he could have tried to trade back. He could have went defensive player. He could have went offensive line. Could have went any number of places. But he went wide receiver. He didn't overthink it. There were 3 top-flight wide receivers in this draft. Rome Odunze was one of them. He was there at 9. Ryan Poles didn't overthink it. Good. I am so fucking happy that he didn't overthink this. Because Rome Odunze was legitimately worthy of the praise he was getting and the way people were saying that he was a top prospect in the draft. Because as I watched him more closely over the past few months, I came away pretty impressed. And while I didn't get to do this scouting report before the NFL draft, I'm doing it now because I felt it would be important, especially since he's now a member of Davis. Let's talk about Rome Odunze, shall we? There was a lot I liked about him. He's 6'3", 210, 215 pounds, which means he has the size profile of a traditional outside X or Y wide receiver. But you could also sit there and line him up in the slot and he'll create mismatches there. He's got enough quickness and vertical speed to be a home run deep threat. He's not a true burner. He's not going to knock your socks off with his explosiveness, but he's got enough of it. He's kind of like got this smooth quickness, this easy speed. He's got enough, folks. He's got enough. And when you're drafting a guy really high, you want him to check as many of the physical tools boxes as possible. He was a highly productive player the last 2 years, and you're going to say, well, that's because he had Michael Penix Jr. throwing the ball. Or is it the other way around? Was it that Michael Penix Jr. was very productive because he was able to throw the ball to a stud like Rome Odunze? I think it's much more the latter, folks, my opinion. But there's so much more to like about Rome's game. He's a really consistent hand catcher. He attacks the ball with his hands. He catches it away from his body and typically catches it in a good position. You know, if you see the ball going off of his hands because it was probably an inaccurate, poorly placed throw by Michael Penix Jr., there were plenty of those the past couple of years. But he was a guy really consistent in terms of catching the football and catching the football with his hands. Really big catch radius, too. He's got a great feel for working back to the ball. You know, it's the one great thing. You're going to think I'm just keeping ragging and dogging on Michael Penix Jr. here, but I wasn't impressed with him as a prospect. What I am saying is there is a positive here in that his ball placement was such dick so consistently that it allowed you to evaluate just how good Rome Odunze was to adjusting to some bullshit throws, and he really did. He was able to adjust to them quite well, and it demonstrated that big catch radius to be able to go back and up and go low and all of that stuff. I thought he was more effective in 2023 getting off of press coverage at times. Still needs some work there, I'll grant you. Successful in terms of winning contested catches. Better, in my opinion, based off of what I saw. Fuck any analytics guys or anything else. As you know, sometimes we'll quote the analytics and what they say without asking, what are you using as the measurement? What are you using as the barometer? How are you defining contested catch? But Rome Odunze, to me, was better in the contested catch category in 2023 than the Marvin Harrison was, and that's by a good bit. I think Rome Odunze played more up to his size on a consistent basis than Marvin Harrison did, whereas Marvin Harrison would play sometimes like he was Megatron. There were other times he would play like he's Chase Claypool, and we know that second part was not a compliment. Rome in the open field is able to run through arm tackles to gain some extra yardage. He's a little bit of a threat running after the catch. He's also a team captain, natural locker room leader. You even sense it when he's doing interviews and making appearances. Like, this is a mature, grown, confident, directional young man. He knows where he's going. He knows how to do things right. He presents himself as the type of guy that other people want to gravitate to. You even see this with Caleb Williams a little bit, right? You can see he was gravitating towards Rome Odunze. That shit matters, man. You need people like that in your locker room. And added bonus here, in his college career, he had a little bit of experience as a punt returner. a little bit of production there. And you might not ever use it at the NFL level, but you get into a big spot in a big game and you say, hey, your primary punt returner went down, who could step in? Like, you might throw Odunze into that spot. So it's not bad. Lots to like about his game. I came away really, really impressed. Even when I look at the many things I chalked up as concerns, they're way more in the like nitpicky to, yeah, it'd just be nice if he got that a little bit better since this is the NFL level, versus, oh my God, if he doesn't fix this, he's going to suck and be a bust. There was none of that. He lacks elite burst and truly elite like deep speed, but he's got enough, right? So he's never going to be a true burner, but if he improves his route running a little bit and improves on some of the subtle moves down the field, he's going to be able to get plenty of separation on deep throws. He needs to crank up the urgency and quickness with some of his routes, and in particular, he gets a little deliberate getting in and out of his breaks. So his footwork and his body position and the way he uses his arms and his upper body to sell the breaks, that's got to work in better concert. He does need to put in some work there. But it's not deal breaking if he doesn't, but it would help if he did. He's got to get a little better too at selling the double moves. Like, sometimes guys can get too quick and try to hit the double move that they forget to actually hit the double move and sell the double move. They just kind of make it a twitch and they go. He's got to get a little more patient there. Sometimes he creates contested catch situations instead of maximizing his routes. He'll slow down a little bit. You got to get better there. And while he's good after the catch, he's not a huge make you miss guy. He's got a little bit of agility, a little bit of wiggle, but he's not going to leave your jock strap on the ground, right? In terms of shaking you out of your cleats. It's just not his style. He can gain some yards as a runner after the catch because he's got good field vision, he's got adequate quickness, he's got good speed, he's got good feel and instincts as a runner. But he's not going to be a guy that makes a bunch of people miss consistently in the open field. I'd also say when you look at the bigger picture, especially thinking about him being a starting level wide receiver at the NFL level, he's got to put forth better and more consistent effort and production as a run blocker. Not exactly a strength of his game. Now, when I look at that, to me it is of a secondary concern, but I can't say it's not important at all because it does have some importance, right? Because you don't want to get to a place where you have an Odunze on the field and you assume, well, he's on the field, he can't run block for shit, so they got to be throwing or they're running away from him. You don't want that. So my summary, there's a lot to like about Odunze, and there's so little to me in terms of bust potential. Like, to me, he feels like one of the highest floor guys, regardless of position, in this entire draft. In fact, he feels much more to me like a guy that could become a top 12 to 15 wide receiver in the league than he would be a bust. He's got a combo of size, quickness, and speed. That's enough. It translates whether he's playing outside or in the slot. He has a lot of that give me that bitch energy when it comes to tough and contested catches. You can really count on him there. And to me, none of those weaknesses that I called out or those concerns are true absolute red flags. They're just more areas for improvement. Type of improvement you would expect a guy to have to make to refine and polish his game as he makes a transition from the college level to the NFL level. In terms of NFL comparison, it was interesting when I tweeted this question out to my followers about a week ago. The answers were all over the fucking place. It was Devontae Adams, it was Keenan Allen, it was freaking Larry Fitzgerald, it was Mike Evans, and da-da-da. So it's just an interesting thing from a perspective standpoint. The name I said then and the name I keep coming back to is CeeDee Lamb. Sometimes you wonder, how does Odunze get open and make these big plays happen? Does that shit really translate? Same questions about CeeDee Lamb. When you talk about he had good speed but not exceptional speed, good quickness but not exceptional quickness, CeeDee Lamb. Odunze. Odunze's a little thicker built, a little stronger than Lamb was coming out of college, but Lamb certainly had that give me that bitch energy when it comes to tough and contested catches and just found a way to make shit happen. Little sluggish and choppy at times with his route running, needs to get better. Like, that was CeeDee Lamb coming out of college. And that's the same type of shit I see here with Rome Odunze. But if you remember a few years ago, I was pretty big on CeeDee Lamb. It makes sense, and I'm pretty big on Rome Odunze now. Independent of whether or not the Bears fucking drafted him, doesn't matter. He was worthy of a top 10 pick. I'm just excited that the Bears and general manager Ryan Poles did the right damn thing because this kid's going to be really good, Bears fans. Really good.